Tinder Box. Soldier came marching down the road. Left, right, left, right. He had a pack on his back and a sword at his side. He had been in the wars and was now on his way home. Along the road, he met a witch. She was a frightful sight. Her lower lip hung down almost to her waist. "Hello, young soldier," said the witch. "That's a handsome sword you have, and a fine knapsack too. You're a proper soldier, and no mistake. Do you want money? I'll show you how to get as much money as you want." "Thanks very much, old witch," said the soldier. "Do you see that big tree?" said the witch. She was pointing to a tree just beside them. "It's quite hollow inside. If you climb up to the top of the trunk, you'll see a hole, and you can slide down that to the bottom. I'll tie a rope around your waist so that I can pull you up when you call." "What am I supposed to do down there?" said the soldier. "Fetch the money, that's what," said the witch. "Now listen to me. When you get to the bottom, you'll find yourself in a long passage. It will be perfectly light, because more than 100 lamps are kept burning there. You'll see 3 doors. They'll be easy to open because the keys are in the locks. Start in the first room. You'll find a wooden chest in the middle of the floor, with a dog sitting on it. The dog has eyes as big as teacups, but don't let that bother you. Here, I'm giving you my blue checked apron. Spread it out on the floor. Lift the dog onto it. Don't be afraid. Then open the chest and take as much money as you like out of it. It is all coppers, I must tell you. If you'd rather have silver, you must go into the next room. You'll find a dog there with eyes as big as millstones. But don't let that worry you. Just lift the dog, put it on the apron, and help yourself. If it's gold you are after, though, you can get that in the 3rd room, as much as you can carry. But the dog there has eyes as big as a round tower. That's a dog of dogs. You won't see his like anywhere else in this world. I can tell you, but never you mind about that. Just put him onto my apron and he won't do you any harm. Then take as much gold as you like." "That doesn't sound so bad," said the soldier. "But tell me, old witch, what's in all this for yourself? You can't be doing it for nothing." "I don't want a single penny," said the witch. "All you need to do for me is collect a dusty old tinder box that my grandmother forgot when she was last down there." "Don't let's waste any more time," said the soldier. "Give me the rope. I'll tie it around my middle." "Here it is," said the witch. "And here's my blue checked apron." The soldier climbed up the tree and slid down the hole. Thump! He found himself in a great passage, just as the witch had said. He unlocked the first door. There sat the dog with eyes as big as teacups. It stared and glared at him. "You're a nice little fellow," said the soldier. He lifted the dog onto the witch's apron and crammed his pockets with coppers. Then he shut the lid, put the dog back on top, and marched into the 2nd room. There sat the dog with eyes as big as millstones. "You shouldn't stare so hard," said the soldier. "You'll strain your eyes." And he lifted the dog onto the apron. But when he saw the masses of silver coins, he threw away all the coppers and filled his pockets and knapsack with silver. Then he went into the 3rd room. This was really frightful. The dog there had eyes as large as a great round tower, and they went around and around in its head like wheels. "Good evening," said the soldier, and he touched his cap politely, for he had never seen a dog like this before. But after he had stared at the creature for a while, he said to himself. Enough of that. Then he heaved the dog onto the apron and lifted the lid of the chest. Heavens, what heaps of gold! It was enough to buy the whole of Copenhagen, as well as all the sugar pigs, tin soldiers, whipping tops, and rocking horses in the world. Yes, that was money all right. Quickly he threw away all the silver coins in his pockets and knapsack and stuffed them with gold instead. Then he filled his cap, and after that his boots. Indeed, he could hardly walk. Now for once he really had money. He lifted the dog back on its box, slammed the door behind him, and shouted up the tree, "Hi, old witch, pull me up again. Have you got the tinder box?" asked the witch. "Bless me, old dame, you are right," said the soldier. It had slipped my mind, and he went back and collected it. The witch hauled him up, and there he stood in the road once more, but now with pockets, cap, knapsack, and boots all bulging out with gold. "Why do you want the tinder box?" asked the soldier. "That's no business of yours," said the witch. "You've got your money. Just give me the tinder box." That was the arrangement. "Oh, rubbish," said the soldier. "Tell me what you are going to do with it, or I'll cut off your head with my sword." "No," said the witch. "You're wasting your time." But she was wrong. The soldier cut off her head, and there she lay. The soldier put all his gold in her apron, tied it into a bundle, and threw it over his shoulder. Then he slipped the tinder box into his pocket and strode off into the town. It was a fine town, and the soldier made for the finest inn, where he booked the very best rooms and ordered all his favorite things to eat. He was a rich man now. The servant whose job it was to clean his boots thought, "Funny old boots for such a grand customer," but the soldier soon put that right. The next day he went out and bought expensive boots and plenty of fine new clothes. He was a proper gentleman now, and people were glad to tell him all about the town, its sights and pleasures, and about the king and the lovely princess. "I wouldn't mind seeing her," said the soldier. "Not a hope," he was told. "She lives in a big copper castle with walls and towers all around. No one is allowed to visit except her parents." The soldier was now living a merry sort of life. He went to the theater. He drove in his own carriage through the park and gave away handfuls of money to the poor. He hadn't forgotten what it was like to be poor himself. How pleasant it was to be rich and well-dressed. Friends flocked around, all telling him what a splendid fellow he was, a real gentleman. He liked that, you may be sure. But since he was spending money all the time and never earning anything, a day came when he found that he had only 2 pennies left. He was obliged to leave his grand apartment and move into a poky little attic under the roof. He had not only to clean his own boots, but to mend them too. He did this with a darning needle. None of his former friends ever called. They didn't want to climb all those stairs. One evening, when he was sitting in the dark since he couldn't afford a candle, he suddenly remembered that there was a candle end in the tinder box, the one he had brought from the hollow tree. But the moment he struck the flint to make a light, the door flew open, and there before him was a dog with eyes as big as teacups. "What are my lord's commands?" said the dog. "I say, that's an odd sort of tinder box," thought the soldier. "Can I have whatever I want?" Aloud, he said to the dog, "Bring me some money." Flick! It was gone. Flack! The dog was back with a bag of coppers in its mouth. and now the soldier realized what a treasure he possessed. You struck the flint once, he found. For the dog was the copper coins. Twice for the dog was silver, and 3 times for the dog in charge of the gold. So, without much delay, he was back in the grand set of rooms, wearing elegant clothes. And now, of course, all his friends flocked back. They couldn't get enough of his company. One day he thought to himself, "It's very odd that no one can see the princess. She's supposed to be such a beauty, but what's the good of that if she has to stay in that copper castle with all those walls and towers? There must be a way of getting through. Where's my tinder box?" He struck the flint, and whoosh! There was a dog with eyes as big as teacups. "I know it's pretty late at night, but I would like to see that princess, if only for a second." The dog was gone in a flash, and just as quickly returned, with the princess fast asleep on his back. Oh, she was lovely, a real princess. No doubt about that. The soldier couldn't resist giving her a kiss. After all, he was a real soldier. But the half-minute was soon gone, and the dog sped back to the castle with the sleeping girl. In the morning, though, at breakfast with her father and mother, she told them that she had had a very strange dream. A great dog had taken her on a lightning ride, and a soldier had kissed her. "That's a peculiar story, I must say," said the king. Now one of the older ladies-in-waiting was told to sit by the princess's bed the next night to see if she had another dream of the same sort, and to see if it was a dream. And as it happened, the soldier longed so much for another sight of the princess that, on that night, he again sent the dog to collect her, and the dog did as he was asked. But the lady-in-waiting was on the alert. She put on her galoshes and followed the dog at a racing speed, and when she saw it vanish with her charge into a big house, she said to herself, "Now we'll know the truth of the matter." And she chalked a cross on the door. Then she went back to get some sleep. But the dog was no fool. When it saw a chalked cross on the soldier's door, it took a bit of chalk and put crosses on all the doors in the town. Lady-in-waiting to see the house with the mark. "Here it is," said the king, catching sight of a door with a cross. "No, husband, it's here," said the queen as she looked at another door. There's another, they were all now saying. And soon they realized that it was no use trying to find the right house. They might just as well go home. But the queen, she was a clever one. She could do more than just ride about in a glittering carriage. She took up her big golden scissors, cut up a piece of silk, and sewed it into a pretty little bag. This she filled with very fine grains of buckwheat. Then she fastened the bag to her daughter's back, snipping a little hole in the silk so that grains would trickle out and mark the path. That night the dog came again, took the princess, and sped with her to the soldier. He was now so much in love that he longed to be a prince and so be able to marry her. But the dog never noticed the trail of grain, all the way from the castle to the soldier's window. When morning came, it was plain enough to the king and queen where their daughter had been. They had the soldier seized and put in prison. There he stood in a dark and wretched cell, and the jailers kept saying to him, "Tomorrow you're to be hanged." He didn't enjoy that at all. The worst of it was, he had left his tinder box in his room. In the first light of morning, he looked through the iron bars of the little window. There were crowds, all hurrying past to see him hanged. Drums were sounding for the event. Soldiers were marching briskly. Everyone was rushing to get a good view. Quite near, he saw a cobbler's boy in a leather apron and slippers. He was scurrying along so fast that one of his slippers flew off and struck the wall near where the soldier was peering out from behind the bars. "I say, cobbler's boy," said the soldier, "you don't have to hurry. They can't begin without me. Wait. Though if you run along to my place and fetch my tinder box, you'll have 6 pence for yourself. But you'll have to be quick." The boy was only too glad to earn a coin or two, and raced off. He was soon back with the tinder box, gave it to the soldier. Listen carefully and you'll know what happened. Outside the town, a gallows had been built. Around it stood the soldiers, and crowded behind were thousands and thousands of people. The king stood by the judges. As for the soldier, was in the middle of the crowd, ready to receive the punishment, and there was a moment's silence. He called out, "Don't forget the custom. Anyone about to be hanged is allowed a last small request, and mine's a little one. I just want to smoke a pipe of tobacco, my last in this world." The king couldn't very well say no to that, so the soldier took out the tinder box to strike a light. 1, 2, 3, he struck, and there stood all 3 dogs. The one with eyes as big as teacups, the one with eyes like millstones, and the third with eyes as huge as a round tower. "Now, you 3, save me from being hanged," said the soldier. At once the dogs leaped upon the judges and counselors, seizing some by the legs and some by the nose, and tossed them into the air. When they came down, they were dashed to pieces. "Not me, I won't be tossed," cried the king. But the biggest dog picked up both king and queen and sent them hurtling into the air like the others. The guards and soldiers were terrified, but the people were delighted with the fun. They called out, "Little soldier, you be our king and marry the princess." They lifted the soldier into the royal carriage, and the 3 dogs frisked about in front, barking in their own way. "Hurrah! Hurrah!" The urchins and young apprentices whistled through their fingers. The guards presented arms. The princess stepped down from her copper castle and became the queen. She liked that, I can tell you. The wedding feast lasted a whole week, while the 3 dogs sat at the table and rolled their eyes at all the other guests. Thank you guys for listening. See you on the next book. Goodbye.